And welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. I am Lori Hinz. With me, my co-host tonight is Matt Simon. I call you Matthew and Matt. I go back and forth between them. But I appreciate you being here tonight. And we've got a very cool guest tonight. Remoting in from Miami is the RNC Director of Hispanic Communications, Jaime Florez. And Jaime, welcome to No Apologies. Thank you for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me, Lori and Matthew. And it's a real pleasure to be with you tonight and, talk about the things that we're doing with the Republican National Committee.
Well, I'm excited about this, too, because I don't think a lot of people actually realize what is being done kind of in the background and in a way that is very, very interactive. But first, I want to introduce our audience to you. So please, would you just tell us a little bit about Jaime Florez?
Well, I'm a journalist. I've been a journalist for over 4 decades. I was working in my country in Colombia, where being a journalist was very difficult during the drug cartels and then the guerrilla and so on. And in 1999, I received a few death threats, and my wife, my oldest daughter, and myself decided, hey, let's go somewhere. They're going to kill us. And then we moved to the U.S. in 1999, and we've been here. I've been a Republican since I came to the United States. I've worked with radio stations and different Hispanic media here. And one day they called me to be the Hispanic Communications Director for the campaign to re-elect Governor Rick Scott. After a few years, he decided to run for the U.S. Senate, and I was again his Hispanic Communications Director. And then this year in April, the Republican National Committee offered me this opportunity to be the Hispanic Communications Director for the Republican Party. And that's great.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. That sounds like a really good background, too, for what you need. I mean, you have a background in communications to begin with right off the bat. Now, what kind of things does the Hispanic outreach do? What kind of outreach items do you have?
Well, we have first we have to approach the media outlets to try to get our message conveyed to our potential voters and to the members of the party that belong to the Hispanic community. So we do press releases every day, and we have interviews, and we make available our leaders to the Hispanic media outlets, and we try to let them understand what we're doing for the country and what we're doing for them as a community. That is very important. We have to make them understand, and they do understand, because we share the same values. So when we talk to them about family, about faith, about abortion, about gun control, about so many things that we Republicans defend, they find out that it's exactly the same things that they look for, that they're fighting for. When we tell them we don't want those socialist policies that make them flee from your country and come to the United States to be part of our society and here. So we work with them. We have opportunities to have conversations. Something that is very important, and that's the main reason for our community centers, is to have that two-way conversation. They're used to only listen, and now the community centers we have an opportunity to listen to them as well. What kind of suggestions they have, what kind of ideas they share, what they think that we're doing that we can be done better. We can be improve whatever we do for them. So that is very important.
I think it's very true that the Hispanic population does share a lot of the conservative and Republican values, too. I think it's interesting, too, that the Democrats have always felt that they owned that demographic. I think they go with this narrative that the Hispanic population is all with them. But what's so interesting is if you speak to people of the Hispanic population, they will tell you, no, this is what I believe, and it just aligns perfectly.
Lori, they've tried to convince our people, the Hispanics all over the country, 18% of the population of the United States nowadays are Hispanics. They have tried to convince us that they're going to promote an immigration reform. And what have happened? Nothing has happened. Among other things, because, they try to put way too many things in an immigration reform. And that's way too complicated. We have to take care of those problems separately. And we have not been able to. And most of these Democrat leaders, they can say publicly when they're in group collectively that they are for an immigration reform. But when they go back to their districts and they have to face their voters, it may not sound as good as when they say it all together in Capitol Hill.
No, I absolutely agree. I think that it is marvelous that the RNC, or the Republican National Committee, or the Republicans are going and actually making this a specific effort. Now, this is no longer just a side gig. This is a specific effort to reach out to Hispanics, and it's a marvelous thing because we've seen already in places like Texas and other places where some of those largely Hispanic areas are flipping. They are not voting Democrat anymore.
Look, we opened community centers in Laredo and McAllen, in Houston, in San Antonio, and we're opening more and more all over the country. For the first time in decades, we were able to win the position for mayor of McAllen, which was a position that was for decades in the hands of Democrats. Now it's a Republican, Javier Villalobos. And even we have a case of one Democrat representative that decided to change parties and come from the Democrats to the Republicans. And that's going to happen, among other things, because Texas is seeing what an open border agenda, which is what the current administration has, how can something like that damage not only the border areas, but the country as a whole. And they miss the policies that we had in the previous administration in terms of, building a wall and protecting our border. And, this is the United States of America. It's not a place where anyone can come and get in and do whatever they want. We have to have protected borders. And now they understand that. Other things that are very important for most Latinos and Hispanics is we didn't come to this country to get anything for free. We came to this country to have the opportunity to work, to improve our lives, to offer better opportunities for our kids and for our families to take them to college and, have doctors and lawyers and in our families, which in most cases, we don't have those opportunities in the Latin American countries. So we don't want to come here to get, things for free. That's not what we want. That's something that the communist regimes, the socialist regimes in our countries have offered. And they failed, as they failed everywhere in the world.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that. You talked about opportunity and safety, and those are very big things in the Latino population. We're going to take a quick break here, Jaime, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about those community centers that you referenced when we come right back.